I'm Sasha Ilenko, co-writer and producer on the Reconnect America podcast. This is Rail Bites, where we highlight some of the gems of what we are learning from our guests on the main show. So you may have heard, Elon Musk wants to privatize Amtrak. And if you've been around the block a little with railroad politics, you know that there's nothing new about this threat. It's as old as Amtrak itself. The argument for privatizing Amtrak is essentially that the railroad loses a lot of money and that the service it provides is just not that good. But if Amtrak had to make a profit to survive, then it would have no choice but to provide better service and do so without requiring any taxpayer subsidy. At least that's the claim. There are a lot of problems with this claim, and we've been exploring them throughout this podcast. But the key thing is that passenger rail is just not a profitable enterprise. Almost any time a passenger railroad has been tasked with making a profit, it has wound up cutting service to minimize its costs, and it has usually still failed to make a profit. But that doesn't mean that passenger rail isn't a good investment. While the cost of operating Amtrak is only a small fraction of what the public spends on highways and other modes of transportation, the economic benefits, according to today's guest, are immense. Meredith Richards, who we heard from in Rail Bite number 2 and episode 2 of our main series, is chair of the board for the Rail Passengers Association. On top of the economic activity that even minimal passenger service facilitates, Meredith also stresses that investing in better service can yield exponential growth in ridership, which means not just more economic activity, but also higher ticket sales for every train, and therefore less need for public subsidy. Musk is correct when he says that Amtrak service isn't very good. The reason is that Amtrak was created with a mandate to make a profit rather than serving the public. And that left us with a threadbare passenger rail system that fails to live up to its own potential. What Meredith has to say here is absolutely crucial to understand. Only by investing in truly serving people will we ever build a passenger rail network that minimizes public costs, maximizes public benefits, and reconnects us all.
It's not really so much whether a route or a passenger train makes a profit as it is what are the economic benefits it brings to the communities that it serves. That's what we look at. That's what we should be looking at. And it turns out passenger trains are just economic engines for the communities they serve. So you may consider the initial investment in a route to be large. Maybe it's millions of dollars. But when you start looking into it and doing rigorous economic modeling to understand the benefits that that train has for the communities it serves, you'll find that it's 5, 6, 7, 10 times what the initial investment is. And the Rail Passengers Association has been doing this with the help of economic departments that have developed modeling for us that are specific to passenger rail. So we can look at a particular community, we can look at a train route that comes through that community and the number of times a day it serves a community, if it's more than one, where it's going, the ridership, and we can project out what the economic benefits to that community are. Or, more importantly, if it's a proposed route, then we can do that modeling before the route ever gets established. And we use those fact-based, database models to argue that, and with good reason to argue that, an investment of $30 million is going to bring economic benefits to the community served in a particular state or a particular region or on a route of 10 times that. So the profitability question is a red herring if you look at the revenue the train brings into Amtrak. The key is what the mobility benefits and the economic benefits are to the communities and the people it serves. People say, well, not many people ride the train. It's not because of lack of demand. It is because of lack of the service. Limited service means limited usage. Add frequencies, add routes, get more people riding the train. Even on the original frequencies that you had, even though you might add a second frequency, the first one will also have more usage. Once you begin more frequency, The reason is because people begin to understand that that service is available, and they'll see that there's more than one schedule, it's more accessible. They begin riding the train, and boy, once people start riding trains as an alternative to driving, they don't want to get back in the car again, and I hear that all the time. You have the experience in a state like Maine, Little Maine, which has one of the nation's most successful inner-city state-supported passenger rail service. It's called the Downeaster. Now they have 5 daily frequencies of the Downeaster, but every time they would add, they started with 1 daily frequency. And every time they would add another frequency, the ridership would more than double. It would be like, add a second train, your ridership increases by a factor of 3, not a factor of 2. And it just balloons that way. And it's because you add more service, people avail themselves of it, and they learn about it. They start riding trains. They discover the many benefits of train travel, and that's all they want to ride.
That was Meredith Richards, Chair of the Board for the Rail Passengers Association. Thank you to Oda Proda for the theme music. If you like what you heard in this Rail Bite and think more people should hear it, please be sure to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. You can also support this work by pitching in and getting involved at solutionaryrail.org.